Going on, everybody? This is Island Hopper TV podcast, and today we're going to talk about the cost of travel in China in 2026. This actually came about from several comments because, yes, I do read your comments. Someone said, "Hey, can you do a price breakdown?" I'm just going to tell you guys, I'm not really going to get too sidebar on everything, but let's get into it. So, I spent 30 days in China, and I have a 10-year visa that I got back in 2018. It expires in 2 years. If I wanted to renew that right now and I wanted to use an agency, I would pay anywhere between $300 to $500 if I wanted to get that fast track. But the government fee for that 10-year visa is about $140. Then, depending on what you pay the company for the service fee, if you wanted to get it expedited or get it done correctly, whether you're in Singapore, Hong Kong, or in your home country in the US or wherever. So, the visa can vary anywhere between, $200, including the company service charge, all the way up to $500, depending on how fast you want to get it and, how much guarantees you want and all that. So that's first thing. But if you just wanted to do a regular visa where you kind of just arrive, like they have like a 144-day visa or 144-hour visa. If you just wanted to get something like that, from what I've been told, those transit visas, they don't cost anything. So you can just go in there. It's like a layover visa. They call it a layover hack. And, you're in there. Okay. So some countries, like I think the UK now, they can go visa free. It just depends on where you're coming from. But let's move on beyond the visas. So let's talk about some of the other things you need to know. So basically, it depends on what kind of traveler you are. Are you a budget traveler? You a mid-range traveler, or are you a comfort and luxury traveler? I tried all three types of experiences, so I'm going to give you like the average price of everything from food, lodging, transportation, the big three, okay? So if you're a budget traveler, you can find hotel guest houses. The cool thing about a hotel guest house is you're going to have typically laundry on site. So if you're staying in like a luxury place, they make you go off site or you pay per item, like $3 to $5 per item. And I'm just going to say this, laundry was a bit of a problem for me at first until I figured it out. But laundry can be very expensive. I mean, there was a time I had a week's worth of laundry that includes socks, boxers, shirts, shorts, all of that. And I was paying per item. And it was like 751. And I'm like, this is impossible to have to pay that much because they were doing it per item, right? And then, you have like maybe a jacket because you're there in the winter months. But that's the good thing about being a budget traveler. They have these laundry mats or these laundry facilities on site. And the guest house can average anywhere between $20 to $40, especially in some of like the cities like Chengdu or maybe even Chongqing. But if you factor in the guest house, street food, the average street food meal, if you're a budget traveler, is around $2 to $5, okay? I mean, usually like $3 to $5. That means it's like 18 yuan to maybe 30 yuan, something like that. It's not very expensive for food if you're just someone who's doing the budget style. So you've got affordable hostels, guest houses that you can stay at, $20 to $40 per night, pretty consistently, especially in some of the, not so Shanghai area. Like Shanghai, I don't know if you're going to be able to stay around the Bund for that price, or in Futian and Shenzhen or Beijing city center. But, if you're outside the city center, that's where you'll find those hostels for a really good price, or the guest houses, okay? And then when it comes to transportation, you just use Alipay. It seemed like it was like 50 cents to $1 to ride the metro pretty consistently. If you're one of those people who wanted to ride Didi, you needed to go a little bit further and there wasn't a train or something available, you can easily get a Didi. It seemed like those were anywhere between like 18, or a taxi in this case, 18 yuan, which is like $3. I mean, this is like a 5-minute Didi ride, 10-minute Didi ride, anywhere between 18 yuan, which is $3 basically, to 45 yuan for like a little bit longer. It was really averaging that price range. I mean, and sometimes you might end up having to go from like the Chongqing city center to like Chongqing East train station. That's like an hour a ride. So, you'd be looking at like 100 yuan for a Didi, but they usually have trains or mass transit systems or buses that you can do. I honestly didn't ride very many buses. I mostly just rode trains. So if you're a budget traveler, that's kind of what you're looking at. Now, if you're looking to be like a 3-star bungalow type person, I wrote that book, 3-Star Gypsy. If you guys haven't seen that, you can go to the homepage and you guys can actually order that book. So that's on the three star gypsy, but 3 star bungalow hotel kind of vibe. That's kind of like the way I travel. Is I don't want to stay in a hostel because I don't want to deal with snoring people with stinky feet. I've done that before. I was in the Navy. I've dealt with all that. But if I want my own room and I want to stay in a hotel, where I can get decent restaurant food, a little bit more above average food. I would say you're looking at anywhere between pretty consistently about $50 to $80 a night, okay, for your own hotel room. That also comes with the laundry on site, and I would stay at some of the hotels like, let's just say, Hilton Garden Inn or uh, Holiday Inn Express for in that price range. You can find that price range with hotels like that, or Marriott's Fairfield or something like that. Okay, you pay a little bit extra, so in some places maybe for a Hilton Garden Inn or something like that, a Hilton Hampton, but that's a nice hotel, 3 or 4 star. In that price range, or you just stay at one of the Chinese brands or one of the just regular brands around China. It's $50 to $80 seems very possible. In some cases, during holidays, prices may go up, but that would be basically for a mid-tier, mid-range traveler, okay? And a mid-range traveler, maybe even when you're going long distance on a train, like train travel on a high-speed bullet train isn't really that expensive. For example, if you wanted to go from, let's say you want to go from Hong Kong to Shenzhen. I was just looking at tickets, okay? Now that's Hong Kong, which is part of China, but it's a different system. The ticket for a second class ticket is probably around $5 to $10. It takes 15 minutes to go 26 miles. If I wanted to do the first class experience, I think it's around like $22 to $27. I don't remember the exact price. That's U.S. dollars in total. That's a really good price to go, cross a border on a bullet train. But if you wanted to go a little bit more long range, let's say you wanted to go from, say, Shanghai to, I don't know, Shanghai to Shenzhen. Depending on what you want to do, or let's do Beijing to Shanghai. How about that? Second class, about $95, okay? Shanghai to Hangzhou, Hangzhou's another big city, about an hour or so away. It's like a $12 bullet train ride, okay? Beijing to Xi'an. Beijing, where the Great Wall of China is. Xi'an, where the terracotta soldiers are, is about $85, okay? So, I mean, it's better than flying. It's about just as fast because if you take in the amount of time you spend at the airport, checking in, going through security, then waiting and waiting, and then, blah, 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 going through all these things and arrivals. I mean, trains are pretty much, you just arrive at the train station about 15, 20 minutes before the train departs, and you're usually pretty good. I mean, probably 30 minutes before should be better. But, and then the train itself, if it's going from Beijing to Xi'an, that might take about 3 to 4 hours. But that's basically what you would have with the flight. You could fly. I mean, for me, I just prefer the trains over the stressful airports. Now, if you're someone who wants to do like the luxury or comfort, travel, which I've also done just because on my other channel, Island Hopper TV Hotels, I do review hotels over there. So sometimes I have to stay at hotels like a JW Marriott to review it because if I reviewed some mom and pop boutique hotel, it's not going to get any clicks, It just doesn't. I mean, people always want to see the famous ones, right? So staying at like a Hilton in Futian or something, and I've done that, and I could tell you the price was around. It seemed to average between about $120 to $200 per night, and that included the 5 star hotel. That was pretty consistent, whether it was a Hilton, a JW, a Marriott, or something like this, a Grand Hyatt, maybe. In some cases around Shanghai and Beijing, I did see like a St. Regis or a Ritz Carlton for like $1,000 a night. I'm not going to pay that. I'll pay $200 a night to stay at a JW Marriott in Shenzhen or in Shanghai. Yeah, sure, why not? If I can make a review out of it and get lounge access and take advantage of all the amenities and everything with the sauna and the pool and blah blah blah. If I wanted to have a comfortable experience with faster internet, yeah. So I mean to live the comfortable experience, the luxury experience, for a minimum, you could probably do that for $250 a day. That includes 5 star, private hotel, private transfers, BYD, a nice BYD car, and with DD. Fine dining, I don't really care about fine dining, especially as a solo traveler. Like, you won't really catch me in there, like, trying to do the fine dining thing alone. Like, I like to eat good food, but I'm not the type to go in there and, I did do it like 3 or 4 times because, I was trying to get good Peking duck. Everyone was talking about Peking duck, so I was like, all right. And people would say, there's a difference between Peking duck. You got to go to a place that's reputable. So if I wanted to try good Peking duck, like the world famous Peking duck, yeah, I got to go to a higher end restaurant. Yeah, I sit in there, but I'm not really trying to go to a fine dining restaurant alone and just sit there and like, it's just not my thing, right? But that kind of stuff, including if you wanted to get like a first class ticket, business class ticket on a train, that could cost. I would say a second class might be like 85, dollars to go from say, I don't know. Let's say you're going from Beijing to Shanghai, second class, $95, right? In second class. But if you wanted to do that same thing in business class, it might be $300 to $400. So it can be a significantly more expensive, but still $300 to $400. I mean, I've paid that to go from Boston to Washington D.C. on an Amtrak, which is not a very. It's like if you've ever gone on a Xi'an, like one of those bullet trains they have over here, these high speed trains. I mean, and you compare that to an Amtrak, it's not even comparable. I mean, it's basically like driving a 1991 Honda Accord versus driving in a 2025 or a 2026 Lamborghini. That's the difference between people are going to be like, oh man, yeah, well, I mean, if you've ever gone on a Greyhound bus or an Amtrak, you know that that's not a very good service, right? I mean, unless you're delusional or not really willing to tell the truth. I mean, but I'm just talking about the Amtrak. I'm not. Look, I like Amtrak. I think it's cool. I think especially like some of those routes, like the one from Boston to New York. I think they call it the Acela Express or something. That one's a nice train. It's a decent train actually. But yeah, I mean these trains really, really nice, real nice trains, man. um, I've also ridden trains in Europe. They're pretty good too. I mean, I've had some real nice experiences, like going from Paris to Zurich or something, or Milan to Zurich. Uh, Nice, it's nice. So anyway, if you wanted to add in some like tourist activities, for example, the Forbidden City. I want to say the Forbidden City was free, same with Tiananmen Square, but if it wasn't, I think I paid for one of those, I think I paid like $9 to go see the Forbidden City. The Great Wall of China, I mean, you're probably paying more for the cable car. If you're really trying to save money, you could take you could just hike it and you wouldn't have to pay for the cable car toboggan. But I think the Great Wall of China in Mutanyu is like $9. Terracotta Soldiers, that one's a little bit more. That was like 21 bucks, I want to say. If you wanted to go to something like the national parks for a 4 day pass, that's like $35. That's 4 day pass. It just depends on the park. I mean, the prices vary, but it's not really too expensive. I mean, I went to several free museums, like the Shanghai Museum was free. So, I mean, there's a lot of free activities you can do. I'm trying to think of the most expensive thing that I did while I was there. And I don't think I saw, I would say just riding the trains from city to city in, business class was probably the most expensive thing I was doing. And I never paid more than $400 for that. I will say this, there was one time I did miss the train. Um, I made the mistake of booking a train thinking that the train station that I was booking was 10 minutes away. So I didn't know this. You guys are going to say, oh, well, you're not very smart if you made that mistake. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not very happy with myself, but I was like booking like a Futian. I thought I was going to go to Futian, but turns out it was the North Station. Okay, so I thought I was just going to Futian. And I realized I was like, okay, let me take the trip.com and put it in there. And oh wow, the North Station's 45 minutes away, 50 minutes away. Well, I didn't take into consideration. I thought it was only 15 minutes away, not 50 minutes away, and I didn't take into consideration the possibility of traffic during rush hour. So I missed the train. Okay, and when I got there, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to book another train, and I'm not even gonna go to the same place that I was gonna go. And then I thought, oh man, I'm out that whole ticket, and it was like a business class ticket, and it was like 2,000 yuan or something like that. I was like, oh man, this is not a good thing. That's a lot of money down the drain. And I talked to the lady, and they were just so happy. They're so helpful, so kind. I was like just waiting for them to say, sorry, no refunds, no money back, or anything like that. Well, what she told me, and this is what she said. She said, what we can do is we can reschedule. We're using Translate to like get this out there. She's like speaking a little bit of English. I'm not speaking any Chinese because I don't know how to speak much Chinese other than like ni hao and xi and all that stuff. But she's basically telling me that what I needed to do was book another ticket, even if I didn't plan to do it. Just book another ticket, and then the difference, whatever the difference was, plus a fee. So I had to pay basically like 500 yuan as like a penalty fee, okay? Which was like, I think it was like 15 to 20%. So you had to like pay like a 15 to 20% fee for missing the train. And then whatever the difference was, and you could make that difference real small. Like you could say, okay, I just want to go from Shenzhen to Guangzhou on second class on one of the cheaper tickets, and that was maybe like $10 or something. And then so then they gave me back 1,800 yuan. So I paid 2,500. I missed it because I made the mistake of booking at the different station, not realizing that there was like four stations in these cities. Okay, so pay attention to the train station when you book. Be like, and Google Maps doesn't work there, so you gotta use like a map, right? So make sure you're putting in the full name. Don't just say train station. Say like the North train station or the East train station in Chongqing, the West train station, the Central train station, because there is all these different ones. These are mega cities with 30 million people, and make sure you go to the right train station because I could see how that could happen real easy. But in this case, I made the mistake, missed the train. I haven't missed any of that stuff in like, I've traveled for like over 10 years. I rarely miss a flight. I can't even think of the time I've actually missed a flight. I'm going to knock on wood because I don't want to do that. But I did miss this train because I booked the wrong station. And yeah, I got back about 65% of what I paid. And that included the rebooking and then the penalty fee, which was like 10 to 15% or 20% or something like that. I can't remember how they calculated it. So, you might be saying like, oh man, they're going to keep 500. Well, it was a percentage. It was like it was just a percentage of what it was. It was based on what I paid. So if you paid 100 yuan, you would have like 15 to 20% or 30%, whatever it is, deducted. And then you get back, let's just say 70 yuan, okay, after you've paid for the new ticket. It's kind of complicated, I know. But the idea is basically you gotta pay a little penalty, you gotta rebook, and then you get back the rest. Okay? But yeah, so I mean, hopefully that puts into perspective a lot of different things. If you guys like this video and you want more China content or you want more travel content, obviously I'm thinking about going to Japan or Korea or some of these other places. If any of those interest you, let me know in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one.